I'm J.R. Church. Welcome to today's analysis of the news. A meeting was held this past Sunday in Sharm el-Sheikh by representatives from the United States, Russia, the European Union, and the United Nations, along with Arab representatives and Israel and the Palestinian Authority. They were there to discuss a couple of things. One, the upcoming negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians for a proposed Palestinian state, which, by the way, Tzipi Livni, who represented Israel, said, we recognize the need for a Palestinian state, and she called the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian negotiations irreversible. Wow. Well, Gary Stearman is here to discuss with me this need for a Palestinian state and also the other most important reason for their meeting, and that was to discuss Iran.
Indeed, because there are two factors operating. The two-state solution, as it's been called, meaning that there has to be a Palestinian and an Israeli state side by side in order for peace to come about. It was sort of on the front burner, but JR, there was a sub-theme. And here in the Jerusalem Post, let me just read a sentence. Senior U.S. and European officials met in Sharm el-Sheikh on Sunday with several Arab leaders who are worried about the international community negotiating an agreement with Iran. In other words, they're afraid that not only will this two-state solution be worked out, but that the Arabs will drop back into second place in order of priority relative to Iran. And JR, this is a legitimate worry because, as another sentence in the Jerusalem Post says, the UAR, that is the United Arab Emirates, indicated in Sharm el-Sheikh that they were concerned about what Obama would be willing to offer Iran in this deal. In other words, they have heard that change may be in the wind. You know, they have been rather blessed, shall we say, by oil for the longest time.
Yeah, basically, you know, they had this meeting. Condoleezza Rice was there representing the United States, but she's not going to be around very much longer.
That's true.
And so they're wondering what Obama is going to do. And I have an article here that says that representatives of President-elect Barack Obama recently told Syrian officials that Obama supports ending their country's isolation and that as president he would work to bring Damascus into the international community. A Syrian diplomatic source revealed in this particular report to the WorldNet Daily. It says the source said that the pledges were made this past summer in a meeting in Washington, D.C. between Obama's policy aides and Syrian Ambassador Ahmad Mustafa. The source said Mustafa was asked at the time by Obama's camp not to comment on the meeting. So here's what he's promising to Syria. What's he going to promise to Iran? Because Iran has influence now in Syria and in Lebanon, in the Hamas, and in the Palestinian Authority. What's going to happen? Well, as you know, because of all of this upheaval that's going on politically and economically, the world is moving toward a one-world government. That's what these people want. Even Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, was there at Sharm el-Sheikh for this meeting. And so they were discussing how are we going to put the world together and make a one-world government and a one-world economy.
JR, this is not being hidden. It's not being kept under wraps. Here from Reuters, virtually at the same time that we're making this announcement, we have another announcement by Prime Minister Gordon Brown, who promised that before Parliament today, he was going to announce the need for a global society and a global currency. That was his keynote before Parliament on the very day that we're making this announcement to you. He says, and if we learn from our experience of turning unity of purpose into unity of action, we can together seize this moment of change in our world to create a truly global society. He's saying we're in a financial state of collapse right now. Let's use it for the good. We'll create a global society and a global currency. Does this sound familiar to anybody?
Bible prophecy tells us that the mark of the beast will come with the rise of the beast out of the sea, and that would be the sea of nations. And
Yes.
this beast would be a one-world government that would rise up and rule over the earth for 42 months. That's 3.5 years. And that they would establish a one-world currency, demanding a mark in the flesh of the hand or the forehead in order to be able to buy or sell or participate in the marketplace. Gary, the prophecies of the Bible are moving very quickly now to their final culmination. It shouldn't be long until we hear the sound of the shout, the sound of the trumpet and the shout from heaven, come up hither, and we'll be out of here.
Well, the Bible says that in the latter day, evil men and seducers would wax worse and worse. And J.R., not only Gordon Brown, but European Union leaders are envisioning a global financial forum. We could spend another 15 or 20 minutes on this. It's happening, folks.
Mm-hmm. It certainly is. And until the Lord comes and takes us out, you need to understand what Bible prophecy is all about. So I want to recommend our magazine, Prophecy in the News, to you. You can find it on the front page here of the website, just right over there. You can get it, subscribe for the next 12 months, and we'll give you, as a bonus, we'll give you 4 books or 3 videos. Here are the 4 books. Let me show them to you here. Guardians of the Grail, The Mystery of the Menorah, The Song of Moses, and They Pierced the Veil and Saw the Future. These 4 books can be yours free if you'll subscribe to Prophecy in the News magazine for the next 12 months. And one of these days soon, it'll all be over. But I tell you, this is the most exciting time to be alive, to see what's happening on the world scene as the Antichrist government begins to consolidate and put the world together into a one world government and a one world currency. So check it out, will you? Get the magazine. And then I want to remind you to watch our weekly broadcast that you can find just below this picture. And you can see what we're doing on our nationwide hookup of our television stations. We broadcast also once a week with that half-hour broadcast that you can find right here at prophecyinthenews.com. Gary, any final word?
Well, J.R., the final word would be, don't let anyone discourage you from watching. And keep watching, because the Lord is imminently at the door. He could come at any moment. So be watchful, as J.R. has said for years and years.
Yeah, like keep looking up at the end of every broadcast.
That's right.
I'm J.R. Church and Gary Stearman. Tune in again tomorrow afternoon for our analysis of the news.